Lenore knew she was going to hell. She was 64, dying of pancreatic cancer, and the doctors had stopped talking in months. Now they talked in days. So she made one phone call. She dialed a man named Chester Bayless, a man she had never met because she could not die carrying what she helped her sister do. When Chester answered, Lenore's voice cracked like old paper. "Mr. Bayless, you don't know me, but I'm Darlene's sister." Chester went still. Darlene had told him her sister was toxic, estranged, gone for good. "I'm dying," Lenore continued. "And before I go, you need to know the truth about your wife, about her son, and about what she's been doing with your grandchildren's money." Chester sat down slowly. "What son?" he asked. "Darlene's son died 15 years ago." Lenore exhaled. "No, Mr. Bayless, he didn't." And right then, Chester heard it. In the kitchen, his wife humming. "Washing dishes, singing that gentle old hymn she always sang when she felt safe." Chester held the phone tighter. Lenore said, "I have receipts, years of them. If you want the truth, you need to come see me tomorrow." Chester swallowed. "Where are you?" Lenore gave him the name of a hospice center south of town. Then she said the line that turned his blood cold. "Come alone, and do not tell Darlene, not yet. If she senses anything, she will move faster than you think." Chester didn't argue, because the moment Lenore said it, he realized something about the woman he married. Darlene wasn't careless. Darlene was careful. That night, Chester acted normal. He ate dinner. He listened to Darlene talk about church. He smiled at the right moments, and all the while, one thought beat in his head like a hammer. If Lenore was telling the truth, the trust was bleeding right now. Not last month, not last year, right now. He went to bed beside Darlene and stared at the ceiling until the room went quiet. In the morning, he told her he was meeting an old union friend for coffee. Darlene kissed his cheek and told him to drive safe. It was the kindest lie he'd ever received. He didn't turn on the radio. He needed to hear his own thoughts. And he hated them. The hospice center was low, brick, and too clean, like the building itself was trying to pretend nobody died inside. Chester parked and sat in the car. Part of him wanted to drive away and keep his life, but another part of him, the part that built a future for his grandkids one paycheck at a time, grabbed the door handle and opened it. Lenore was in room 14. She looked smaller than he expected. Pale, thin, a woman who had run out of time. A folder sat on her bedside table like a confession waiting to be opened. "Mr. Bayless," Lenore whispered. "Thank you for coming." Chester pulled a chair close. "Tell me everything," he said. Lenore closed her eyes for a moment, like she was choosing whether to suffer quietly or do one last hard thing. Then she spoke. "Darlene's son is named Patrick," she said. "He's alive. He's in his 40s. He lives in Hadley, about 2 hours north." Chester's hands tightened on his knees. Lenore kept going. "He has a wife, 3 kids, and for years your money has been paying their tuition, their sports, their camps, everything." Chester's mouth went dry. "How much?" Lenore reached for the folder and slid it toward him. "Over 140,000, she said. "That's the number I can prove. The real total might be worse." Chester opened the folder. Bank statements, transfer records, dates stretching back year after year, amounts that were never huge at once, small enough to hide. 2,000 here, 5,000 there, always out of the grandchildren's trust, always into an account he didn't recognize. "That account belongs to Patrick," Lenore said. Chester looked up, the question already burning. "Why did you help her?" Lenore's eyes glistened. "Because she's my sister," she said. "Because I told myself you had plenty. Because she gave me a little money to keep me quiet. And because I was weak." Lenore's voice hardened in the last word. "But sickness does something to you," she added. "It strips the excuses off. What we did was wrong. What she's still doing is wrong. And I couldn't die without telling you." Chester flipped another page. He saw the pattern, the spacing, the discipline. This wasn't panic spending. This was a system. He swallowed. "Does she know you kept all this?" Lenore hesitated. "She suspects," she admitted. "That's why I'm telling you to move carefully. She's not dumb, Mr. Bayless. If she realizes you know, she'll drain what's left and disappear, or she'll try to make you look confused." That last line landed like a punch, because Chester had heard Darlene say it before, not about him, about other people. "He's forgetting things. She's not all there anymore." A gentle voice, a cruel tactic. Chester closed the folder. "What do I do?" he asked. Lenore reached out and touched his hand. "You protect what's left," she whispered, "and you make sure she never gets near it again." Then Lenore said something else, quiet but sharp. "And when you confront her, don't do it alone." Chester didn't go home. He drove straight to his bank. He told the woman at the front desk he needed full trust statements years back. He watched her face change when she heard the words. She didn't ask why. She just led him into a small office and returned with printouts that felt heavier than paper should. Chester laid Lenore's documents beside the bank's records. Then he matched, line to line, date, amount, destination. Every transfer was real. Every transfer was from the trust. The total was worse than Lenore's estimate, $142,600. Chester stared at the number until it stopped looking like money and started looking like years. Years of overtime, years of skipped vacations, years of saying, "Not yet," to himself so his grandkids could say, "Yes," later. He stood to leave, and right as he did, he noticed something that made his stomach twist. A banknote on the file. The account had multiple points of contact, including Darlene, meaning if the bank verified something, they might call her. Chester walked out to his truck and didn't breathe until he was inside with the doors locked. He realized he had two choices: move fast or lose what was left. That evening, he made sure of one thing: his own children had never touched the trust. He didn't need two separate visits and two long conversations. He needed one clean truth, so he asked them, both of them, directly, "Have you received any money from the trust?" They looked insulted, confused, hurt. Then they answered. "No," his son said. "No," his daughter said. And when Chester saw their faces, he knew he had been right to keep the trust hidden from everyone. His kids weren't the problem. The problem was sleeping in his bed. Now, Chester needed Patrick, not to blame him, to close the circle. Because if Darlene went on the offensive, she'd do what all careful liars do. She'd claim Chester had approved it. She'd claim he promised. She'd claim he forgot. Chester needed proof that Patrick believed it was a gift. It took him 3 days, but he didn't spend those days calmly. He spent them like a man chasing a moving train. Late-night searches, account traces, phone calls made from parking lots, addresses that led nowhere. And every time his phone buzzed with Darlene's name, his heart kicked, because he kept imagining the wrong call. The call where she says sweetly, "Chester, why is the bank asking questions?" On the third day, he got an address in Hadley, a split-level house in a quiet neighborhood, 2 cars in the driveway, a basketball hoop, the kind of normal life your grandkids are supposed to have, just not paid for by someone else's stolen future. Chester parked across the street and waited. A man came outside to check the mail, early 40s, dark hair going gray at the temples. Ordinary. Chester stepped out. "Patrick?" he asked. The man turned. "Yeah." "Do I know you?" "My name is Chester Bayless," Chester said. "I'm married to your mother." Patrick's face shifted, surprise first, then discomfort. "Oh," he said. "Right. She mentioned you. I didn't realize." Chester cut him off. "Can we talk inside?" Patrick hesitated, then nodded. They sat at Patrick's kitchen table. Chester placed his phone down, face down. He had already pressed record. He kept his voice flat. "Your mother told you I wanted to help your children," Chester said. Patrick nodded. "She said you wanted to be generous," Patrick replied. "She said you didn't have much of a relationship with your own grandkids, so you wanted to support ours." "I thought it was kind." Chester felt something rise in his chest. Not rage, not yet. Something colder. "My own grandchildren are my life," Chester said. "I built that trust for them over decades. I never agreed to give your family $1. Your mother took it from children who never got the chance to say thank you because they didn't even know it was happening." Patrick's face drained of color. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear I didn't know." Chester watched him, and he believed him. Because Patrick looked like a man realizing his life was built on a lie. Chester nodded once. "Then you're not my enemy," Chester said, "but you're going to help me make this right." Patrick swallowed. "How?" Chester leaned in. "By being there when she can't talk her way out." On Monday, Chester met with an attorney, Grace Hollowell, elder law, financial fraud. She didn't perform outrage. She performed clarity. Chester laid out everything: statements, transfers, Lenore's folder, Recording. Grace flipped through the stack, then looked up. This is strong, she said. Fraud, theft by deception, financial exploitation. Your documentation is unusually clean. Chester didn't care about the labels. He cared about two things: stopping the bleeding and making sure Darlene couldn't rewrite the story. Grace gave him a plan. Freeze the trust, remove Darlene's access, prepare divorce filings on grounds of fraud, and decide whether to involve law enforcement. Chester nodded. Then he asked the question he'd been carrying since the hospice. Can I confront her? Grace paused. Legally, it's safer to serve papers first, she said. Emotionally, I understand. If you confront her, do it with witnesses, do it with records, and do it in a way that leaves no room for her to twist it. Chester stared at the paperwork. Witnesses, records, no room, a trap. He left Grace's office with the outline of one. For the next few days, Chester acted like nothing was wrong. Breakfast, small talk, church, the same routines Darlene loved, because routine is where liars feel safest. Then Darlene asked the question Chester feared. Why did the bank call about the trust? It happened casually, like she was asking about the weather. Chester felt his stomach drop. He forced his face to stay empty. Routine verification, he said. Updated contact information. I handled it. Darlene studied him. Not long, just a little too long. Then she smiled. Good, she said. As long as everything's fine. Chester nodded. Everything's fine. But as she turned away, Chester realized he had just seen the edge of something. Curiosity, suspicion, and as she pulled that thread, she'd start moving. So Chester moved first. Grace had the divorce papers ready by Friday. Chester didn't keep them in the house. He kept them locked in his truck, under the seat, like a weapon he wasn't ready to draw. Then he made 2 calls, one to Patrick, one to the hospice. He didn't ask permission. He asked readiness. Saturday night, Chester told Patrick. I'm telling her it's a dinner to talk about the grandchildren's future. You'll be on video. You'll listen. And if she tries to deny it, you'll tell the truth. Patrick hesitated. She's my mother, he said. She used you, Chester replied. She made you part of a crime without your consent. If you stay silent, she'll keep using you. A long pause. Then Patrick said, Okay. The hospice call was harder. The nurse said, Lenore was weak but willing. Lenore wanted to be there, not to punish her sister, to end her own guilt. Chester stared at Darlene across the living room as she watered her plants and hummed that hymn. 2 days. Then she would learn what it felt like to lose everything she stole. Saturday came. Chester cleaned the house. Darlene asked why he was doing so much. He told her, I want tonight to be special. She smiled like she'd won something. She baked a pie. She wore a blue dress. She looked like a woman who believed she was safe. Chester set the table. 2 plates, 2 glasses of sweet tea, a candle Darlene loved. He ate almost nothing. He listened to her talk about church fundraisers and weather. He watched her hands. Those hands had signed transfers. Those hands had held his face. When she finished her meal, Chester stood. Before dessert, he said, there's something we need to talk about. Darlene's smile held. Of course, she said sweetly. Chester carried his laptop to the table and opened it. Sit down, he said. Something in his tone made her pause. She sat. Chester clicked the first video call. The screen flickered. Then Lenore appeared, pale, thin, propped on pillows. Darlene's face changed instantly. Shock, fear, and beneath it, anger that she couldn't hide fast enough. What is this? Darlene snapped. Why are you talking to her? Lenore's voice was weak, but her words were clean. Hello, Darlene, she said. It's been a while. Darlene started to rise. Chester, she's a liar. She's always... Chester's voice cut through. Sit down! Darlene sat. Chester clicked the second video call. Patrick appeared in a smaller window. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just watched. Darlene's mouth opened. Patrick? What are you doing? Why are you? Chester slid the first page of bank statements onto the table. Not the whole stack. 1 page, 1 transfer, 1 date. Darlene's eyes dropped. Chester said, Your son is alive. He let it sit. Then he added, And my grandchildren's trust has been paying for his children. Darlene's breathing turned shallow. Chester, I can explain. Chester slid a second page, another transfer, another date, then a third, then a fourth, a pattern, a system. He kept his voice calm. You told me he died, Chester said. You built a story so I would never ask questions. And the whole time, you were taking money meant for 3 children who call me Grandpa. Darlene's hands shook. She looked at Lenore on the screen like Lenore was a ghost. Lenore's eyes didn't blink. Darlene tried to turn the room. Mr. Bayless, Chester, you have to understand. I was trying to help my family. You have so much. Chester slid a final page across. The summary total, $142,600. Darlene's face collapsed. She whispered, I didn't mean. Chester said, you meant it every month for 6 years. Darlene snapped her gaze to Patrick. Tell him, she begged. Tell him you needed it. Tell him I was just… Patrick's voice finally came, flat, tired. I told my kids their great-grandfather wanted to help, he said. I believed you. He paused. Then he said the sentence that broke her. Don't call me again, Mom. Patrick disconnected. The little window vanished. Darlene stared at the blank space where his face had been. Then she turned on Chester with tears spilling. Please, she said. I made a mistake. I can fix it. I'll pay it back. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't. Chester reached down and pulled out the envelope from his chair. He slid it across the table. Divorce papers, he said. Read them. Darlene stared at the envelope like it was a snake. On the screen, Lenore's lips trembled. This wasn't victory. This was the end of a lie. Lenore whispered, I'm sorry, Darlene. Darlene didn't answer. She couldn't, because there was no story left to tell. Darlene moved out the next morning. 2 suitcases, a taxi, one long look back at the house like she expected Chester to chase her. He didn't. The divorce finalized weeks later. She didn't fight, not because she was suddenly decent, because she knew what a judge would do with 6 years of bank transfers. Chester filed for restitution. It would take time, because you can't unspend stolen money. You can only repay it. Patrick called a couple of weeks after the confrontation. He sounded like a man who hadn't slept. We want to make it right, he said. We can start paying monthly. Not because you forced us, because my kids need to learn what this money really was. Chester accepted. Not as forgiveness, as a correction. Lenore died shortly after. Chester drove to the hospice one last time and sat in the parking lot. He didn't go in for Darlene. He went in for the part of himself that needed to believe guilt can still do one good thing. Lenore's daughter told him later that Lenore had been calmer after Saturday, like she'd finally set something down. The trust wasn't whole anymore. It never would be. Chester was in his 70s. He couldn't rebuild decades in a few months, but he could protect what remained. He renamed his son and daughter as co-trustees. He removed Darlene's name from everything. He set up automatic alerts for any withdrawal over $100. No more blind trust. No more quiet theft. That spring, his granddaughter graduated. Chester wrote her a check from the trust for her first semester. It wasn't the amount he dreamed of, but it was clean. It was hers. In the parking lot, she hugged him tight and whispered that she loved him. And Chester felt something he hadn't felt since Lenore's phone call. Control. Not control over people. Control over the promise he made to children who never asked him for anything except to show up. That night, Chester drove home. The house was quiet. No humming from the kitchen. No hymns, just silence. And for the first time in a long time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt like peace.